After leaving the snowy California mountains, I worked my way to the astonishing Death Valley National Park. Alright, well I'm at the Badwater Basin in Death Valley National Park, California, and I'm actually a little bit into it, maybe like a mile or so, but this area is just this incredible bright white salt flat with all of these just amazing crystalline structures rolling all through the ground. And unlike a lot of other of these trail guides, this spot doesn't really have a path necessarily. You can just kind of wander these salt flats, and there are just so many of these intricate crystal patterns all over that it just makes for some amazing sights. You know, it's one of those cases where the landscape around you is incredibly vast and epic, but also the individual patterns, those small scale little twists and turns of these salt crystals throughout the valley floor is just quite astonishing. So I don't know how much this I'm going to wander, but I'm just going to wander around and I'll see what kind of amazing things we can find out here. Death Valley is a place of extremes. The salt flats of Badwater Basin are the lowest place in North America, sitting over 200 feet below sea level. Just 15 miles away, the town of Furnace Creek experienced the world's hottest ever recorded temperature a mere 3 months before my visit at 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Despite its desolate appearance, water plays a critical role in forming these salt flats. Before 10,000 years ago, much of the valley was filled by a giant lake, which left its sediments behind. The basin still sometimes floods, and with nowhere to drain, the evaporated water leaves behind these stark, beautiful white creations. Small scenes of epic wonder. Death Valley has been home to the Timbisha Shoshone for over 1,000 years, providing life-sustaining waters from its vast aquifer beneath the barren ground. Texture and pattern creating its own universe to explore for miles on end. Footsteps leaving their mark in time until the basin floods again. I love how the character of this landscape changes in such subtle ways. You know, towards the start of the hike, there were very, very small ridges, lots and lots of these kind of white salt crystals, and not much in the way of the underlying ground that the salt is covering. But as you go deeper into the valley, the texture and colors of these little shapes start to change. You see more of the dirt that the salt crystals are forming on. The ridges become much taller, and all in all, it just starts to be a very subtly different landscape that just gradually changes as you go throughout it. After hiking 3.5 miles into the salt flats, I decided to turn around and work my way east into Nevada. Lone mountain ranges bear witness to vast tectonic forces pushing the earth upward in its wake. From my camp in the Nevada desert, I worked my way to a place that I've long wanted to explore, a burning orange land called the Valley of Fire. fiery rocks that give the Valley of Fire State Park its name were formed by dunes in a vast desert 150 million years ago, a time when Africa and South America had only begun to separate. Nature makes wonder-filled paintings with a bright orange ground. Though I didn't have time to film the park's petroglyphs, the valley was visited by native peoples who left their marks on the rocks for many hundreds of years. To wander in the Valley of Fire is to be immersed in color, a burning landscape sculpted by nature, inhabited by desert bighorn sheep and other improbable creatures who feed on the sparse vegetation. Follow the stones and listen to their ancient stories. An alien land where sagebrush appears to be a thing of another world. A white cross marks the place where a traveler was claimed by the desert heat over 100 years ago. Rocks form an ever-burning desert palace, sentinels of astonishing beauty. As shadows creep across the landscape, the rocks ignite with light. Out of reach of the camera I had with me, I watched two bighorn sheep rams graze in the ember hour. The Valley of Fire is a breathtaking place, and one that entirely deserves its name. I was grateful to film the place in wonder. In the next video, I wander through the petrified forest of northeastern Arizona, where countless trees were buried and frozen in time by explosive volcanic eruptions. Then adventure in the cactus jungles of the Chihuahuan Desert. Until then, wander in wonder.